So tonight we invite the story continuation of the creation of Egypt and the pantheon of Egyptian gods. And we invite the story to come in and be told as it was meant to be told this evening. Light was non-existent. The watery abyss of noon was darker than the blackest night, and the universe was blind. It lacked solidity, solidarity. Then Ptah, something in Ptah moved, the dark liquid chaos, and cracked open the noon. And through a tiny sliver of an opening, a ray of light emerged as a massive pillar. So great and brilliant was this light that all the darkness of noon vanished all at once. Noon did not disappear, but was covered by a blanket of light. A blanket that would forever hide its presence from all of reality. This light that shattered the darkness was the first manifestation that was not chaotic or static. Yet it had also arisen from the noon. The pillar of light festered over all of noon, vibrating a new form of existence into the watery chaos. The noon started to shift, to move, rippling about itself, transmuting itself into a chaotic and omnipotent light all at once. That which had always been darkness began to transform. This new existence was light, and it was the first birth in all of creation. The pillar of light then condensed upon itself. It grew brighter and brighter, slowly solidifying into one concentrated pillar. Neither ethereal light, but rather solid luminescence. The light that was the first aspect of creation demanded to expand further. But to do that, it must first take a shape capable of exploration. It needed to become more than just a ray of all-encompassing light. The light needed both a solid body and an intelligence capable of organizing the light into proper order. This first form, first intelligence, this first life that would breed all life that was to follow, stepped out of the pillar of luminescence. "I am Re," he announced. Announcing his name to noon and all of the light that had overtaken it. All of the light was himself, and he was the light. They were one and the same, and the light had created that first form named Re. But they were not separate beings. As the light that had seeped out of the noon would watch over the entire cosmos, Re had a more specific task, and he wasted no time going to work on his divine mission. He looked around at the light that was shining from all around him. Beneath his light, he could feel the waters of noon vibrating. And the noon whispered a silent voice to him, and Re understood the whisper. For noon wanted to resist all his efforts to organize an entire universe. Ray silently responded to the Noon and told it that this must be done. The plane of form had waited too long to be brought into being. Ray and Noon shared silent words that were only meant for the ears of the gods to hear. Ray told Noon that life must begin, or all would remain stagnant, latent, and dark. The light needed to spread life, and the chaos needed to be organized. The universe had to be created. If these things were not supposed to be, then the Noon would never have opened. The Noon listened to Ray's argument and accepted a compromise. Ray and Noon agreed the universe was to be formed, and that it be populated with intelligent living creatures. Yet Noon told Ray his mission would not be easy. For I will challenge every step you take. We both have our respective roles to play. Ray accepted the intention of the Noon, and then he stepped forward. With his first step came the first formation of solid substance. That was not of his own body. He lifted his foot into the etheric light, and when it stepped back down, a mound of matter had formed under his heel. He took another step, and more matter came into being. With each step he took, the chaos of Noon that was hiding under the light changed from liquid nothing into a solid something. Just by stepping forward, Ray was beginning to organize the unstable chaos into a sphere that would contain all the particles that would create the stars, the planets, and life forms in the universe. With each step I take, with each thought I have, with each passing moment that I exist in this form, time ticks. Time is my greatest gift and most steadfast curse. For the chaos of Noon to morph into order, time is needed. He continued to explore his light while creating each second of time and every particle of matter with each step he took. Yet more organization was still needed. His light was going to need a law to follow, a cycle of operation. Without an establishment of cosmic laws, anything that he was going to create would simply slide back into the chaos of Noon. I decree that there will be a dawn, there will be a midday, and then there will be the setting, and then there will be the night. Then the cycle will begin again. With each revolution of the cycle, there will be change and growth. And this law will not be broken. My light will follow this law, and by doing so, this law and order will remain unmolested by chaos. He began to focus his concentration on the particles of matter that were forming under his feet and within his light. The light began to disperse but not separate. Throughout the bubbling and forming universe, the light began to concentrate on specific points in space. Ray caused these focused concentrations of light to be the stars. He observed his sandbox of creation, and he told some of his stars that they were to continue lighting up the darkness of noon until they became exhausted, and when they could no longer shine, they would be allowed to return to Re. Yet they were some stars he gave a different purpose to. "Hear me, my children," Re spoke to some of his newly formed stars. "You are me, and I am you. Your mission is my mission. I desire life to exist in this space we have created." With his command given, some of the stars began to highlight some of the fragments of solid matter that was just starting to etch itself out of chaos. And Re selected one of these developing mounds as his new home. "I declare this new home be called land. I decree this land where I will dwell be called Egypt. From here, all intelligent life shall begin." Re descended into the land of Egypt. It was nothing more than a small mound rising up from the waters of noon. And Re, he left his stars and the waters of noon to keep his light in the darkness, while he went to begin the next phase of his divine appellation. The first thing Re did after descending to the hill of Egypt was to experiment with different versions of form that he could create. Re could take any shape he wanted, and he experimented with all the different forms of the animals of creation he was manifesting. And after shape-shifting through millions of different forms, he settled on the form that would best represent the goal of his mission. He made his body that of a humanoid hominid that eventually walked the ground of Egypt. And for his head, he selected a creature that would be called the hawk. And with this body of his now chosen and selected, the cycle of time established, he continued his scheme of divine organization. For Re's voice was the breath of life. Whatever he spoke would manifest from the chaos of nothing into a fully formed and functioning being. While standing on the small mound that was Egypt, he decided to speak again. And thus more intelligent order out of the chaos of noon arose. His first word was "shoo." And with that word, the winds responded and blew over Egypt. For "shoo" was air, and the first element of creation. Re then said, "Tefnut." Then his daughter was born, and she was moisture. Shu and Tefnut swirled around each other, and the first rains fell, and Re was greatly pleased with his children. Although the particles and the stars were his first creations, Shu and Tefnut were the first elements with this new born son and daughter assisting him. The tiny mound that was Egypt could begin to grow with the cycle of time and light. And as Shu and Tefnut began to fertilize the growing mound of Egypt, Re spoke other names into existence. Geb. Then the tiny mound of Egypt expanded outward rapidly. It mixed with the waters of noon while being energized by the light of the stars. He spoke Nut. And the sky leapt out of the waters of noon and joined the earth of Geb. Nut was his second daughter, and was the atmosphere that would hold in the air and moisture of Shu and Tefnut. Yet Nut was reluctant to separate from her brother Geb, for Nut wanted to remain on the ground of Geb. But Re knew that would prevent more lives from being established, and he ordered Shu, heir, to lift Nut up and hold her over the ground of Geb for all of eternity, if that was needed. And Shu followed her father's command, and lifted Nut up over Geb, thus separating the earth from the sky. Satisfied, Re spoke another name, Thoth. Unlike the other children, Re had spoken into existence who were forces of nature. Thoth had a different task. Re told Thoth he was charged with the responsibility of being the great organizer of life. Hear me, Thoth. Chaos will forever try to undo all that will ever be done. It is up to you to maintain order throughout all of time. I have brought the light. I have established the cycle of time. I have created the principles of existence that all creation will abide. Yet, it is up to you to make sure these principles are not broken. For you shall be the scribe of my rights, an organizer of all intelligent life. Thoth understood his mission immediately. For none would be wiser than Thoth. But his wisdom revealed to him that his task would require extra assistance. And so Thoth asked for another to help him maintain the order of intelligent life. And so Re spoke another name, Naharut. Then Naharut came into being, and she instantly embraced Thoth. Re then spoke more names. Osiris, Isis, Set, Nethys. Each god and goddess was given their task and function. Each being then went about the work Re had charged them with. Some were obedient to Re's mission, while others were more rebellious, and many conceived their own children between each other, and those children were given their tasks for maintaining the order and life. And so it was Re sent his children off to their duties, as he continued to stand in the center of a still developing Egypt, and from his hill, that was the first form of matter on the earth, he spoke into creation the river he called the Nile. He then spoke all the names of the animals to inhabit the earth, and then he spoke the words, humans, men, women. And as mankind was born, the noon smiled, and the soft whisper of noon's laughter whispered throughout the universe.